Germany was never a basketball country. They were built for football. Organized, disciplined, efficient. And for the longest time, their basketball legacy was just one man, Dirk Nowitzki.
Legendary, for sure.
He has that talent along with the dedication to be one of the best players. It's tough to defend, and it's a great thing to watch.
Europeans don't play defense. Europeans aren't good enough. Europeans aren't mentally tough enough.
Dirk retired, most people figured that was the end of it. Germany would go back to what it always was, a football nation that dabbled in hoops every now and then. But then everything changed. In 2023, Germany shocked the world, beating Team USA and winning their first ever FIBA World Cup. A year later, they finished fourth at the Olympics, proving it wasn't a fluke.
Germany have done it! They have conquered the world!
And in 2025, they took Eurobasket gold in Latvia, cementing themselves as Europe's new powerhouse. In just 3 years, Germany went from an afterthought to one of the most complete basketball teams on the planet. So, how did they do it? How did a football nation quietly build a basketball system strong enough to beat the world? Because this story isn't about luck, it's about a plan. And that plan started long before anyone was watching. Germany's rise in basketball wasn't random. It wasn't about one lucky generation or a few breakout players. It was built piece by piece, just like everything else the country does. More than 10 years ago, the German Basketball Federation realized something. If they wanted to compete with the big nations, France, Spain, Serbia, they needed structure. So they built it. They created 2 national youth leagues, the JBBL for under-16s and the MBBL for under-19s. For the first time, talented kids all across Germany were playing organized, competitive basketball, with real coaching, real systems, and real opportunities. Then came the most important rule change in the country's basketball history. The top league, the BBL, required every team to have at least 6 German players on their roster. It forced clubs to stop importing entire lineups from the US. If you wanted to win, you had to develop your own players. That one rule changed everything. Clubs like Alba Berlin, Bayern Munich, and Ratio Farm Ulm started investing heavily in youth academies. They didn't just train players, they built an education system for basketball. Young Germans were learning how to move, pass, and read the floor like pros before they even turned 18. By the time the world finally paid attention in 2023, the foundation had already been there for over a decade. Germany didn't come out of nowhere. They'd been prepping for this moment the whole time. But a system is only as good as the people inside it, and Germany was about to develop a generation that changed everything. Every basketball nation dreams of a golden generation, but Germany didn't just find theirs, they built it, and more importantly, they kept it. In most countries, once a young player shows promise, they leave. They chase scholarships in the US or join academies in Spain. And by the time they make it, they're no longer products of their own system. Germany flipped the script. Because of the domestic player rule, young Germans actually had a path at home. Teams were required to give roster spots and real minutes to local players. That rule gave birth to a wave of homegrown talent who didn't need to leave to grow. Guys like Franz Wagner, Andreas Obst, and Isaac Bonga came through those local systems. They weren't sitting at the end of benches, they were getting reps against grown men before most kids their age even graduated high school. Franz Wagner, especially, became the symbol of what German basketball had become. He came up through Alba Berlin's academy, spent 1 year at Michigan, and then jumped to the NBA looking like a finished product. Not raw talent, but refined skill. His brother Moritz, along with Dennis Schröder, Daniel Theis, and Jonas Voigtmann, all came from the same system. A system that taught team basketball, fundamentals, and maturity. So when these guys came together for the national team, it wasn't some awkward reunion of strangers. They already knew each other's pace, habits, and style of play. That chemistry, that trust, was Germany's secret weapon long before the rest of the world saw it. But even with all that talent, Germany still needed the one thing every great team needs: a coach who could turn it into something unstoppable. Talent means nothing without direction. And for years, that was Germany's problem. Good players, no real identity. That changed in 2021. When they hired Gordon Herbert. He wasn't a flashy name, no bold promises, no viral quotes, but what he brought was exactly what German basketball had been missing: structure. Herbert came in and set a rule from day one. No more starting over every summer. Germany had spent years swapping coaches, rotating rosters, and hoping chemistry would magically appear. Herbert ended that cycle. He kept the same core group together: Dennis Schröder, Franz Wagner, Daniel Thiest, Andreas Obst, Isaac Bonga, Moritz Wagner, and built around them year after year. It started with a bronze medal at Eurobasket 2022, then a World Cup championship in 2023, a fourth-place finish at the Olympics, and finally Eurobasket gold in 2025. That's not luck, that's a culture. Herbert didn't care about individual numbers, he cared about roles. Schröder was the emotional leader. Franz was the calm finisher. Thies anchored the defense. Obst was the shot maker. Everyone had a job and everyone bought in. That kind of continuity is rare in international basketball. Most national teams are patchwork. Stars showing up last minute, chemistry built on the fly. Germany was the opposite. They looked like a club team that just happened to wear national colors. Herbert turned the program into something bigger than a tournament run. He made it feel like a mission. But even with the perfect coach and system, there's one person who made all of this possible. The man who inspired an entire generation to believe that German basketball could actually matter. Every movement starts with one person who proves it's possible. For German basketball, that person was Dirk Nowitzki. Before Dirk, basketball in Germany was quiet. You could go months without hearing about a game on TV. The sport existed, but barely. Then came the 7-foot kid from Würzburg, who didn't look like an athlete but played like an artist. And by the time he was done, he wasn't just Germany's greatest player, he was one of the greatest the world had ever seen. Dirk's 2011 NBA championship changed everything. It wasn't just about basketball, it was about identity. He showed that a German player could beat the best in the world on their stage, playing their game and do it his way. Kids who were 10 or 12 back then, the ones who watched Dirk cry as confetti fell in Dallas. Those kids are now Germany's stars. Franz Wagner, Isaac Bonga, Andreas Obst, all part of a generation that believed they could be next. Dirk gave German basketball something it had never had before: a reason to dream. It was living proof that you didn't have to be born in Chicago or Madrid or Paris to make it. You could be from Würzburg or Berlin or Ulm. Even after retirement, Dirk never left the game. He stayed close to the program, mentored young players, and supported the national team at every major tournament. When Germany won the 2023 World Cup, he was there in the crowd, smiling like a proud older brother, watching the next generation finish what he started. He didn't hand them medals, he handed them belief, and that belief built a nation of hoopers who no longer felt like outsiders. But while Dirk gave them inspiration, Germany still needed something deeper, a culture that could teach, repeat, and grow long after the legends retire. If you're enjoying this breakdown, make sure to hit subscribe, because we don't just talk about the highlights. We dig into the systems, the cultures, and the stories that actually shape basketball around the world. Now let's get back to how Germany turned structure and discipline into a basketball superpower. Germany's success wasn't just about finding talent, it was about teaching it. Because if you look closely, you'll notice something. German players rarely play wild. They rarely panic. They're calm, controlled, and almost surgical in how they read the game. That's not a coincidence, that's a philosophy. At the center of that philosophy in Alba Berlin, the club that quietly built the backbone of German basketball. Over 15,000 kids are part of their development programs, and their entire approach is different from what you see in most countries. They didn't just teach drills, they teach decisions. Instead of running the same plays over and over, they put kids in live situations, reading defenses, making choices, solving problems. It's basketball as education, and it's spreading. Bayern Munich, Ratio Farm Ulm, and Telekom Baskets Bonn all run youth academies built on the same model, where coaches focus less on winning games at age 14 and more on creating players who understand the game by 20. Germany also invests heavily in its coaches. The federation runs courses, clinics, and exchange programs with other top nations. They treat coaching like a science, because smarter coaches create smarter plays. That's why when you watch Germany play, you see trust, movement, purpose, no wasted motion. Every player knows what the other is thinking. And that comes from years of being taught the game the same way. It's not flashy, but it's consistent. And that consistency has turned Germany into one of the most disciplined basketball systems in the world. But every system needs a moment, the moment where everything clicks, when years of hard work turn into something the whole world can see. For years, Germany had been building something. The structure, the players, the culture, it was all there. But they still needed a moment. That one game where the world would finally take them seriously. That moment came in Manila, during the 2023 FIBA World Cup. Germany versus USA. The powerhouse versus the project. Everyone expected the Americans to roll through, but from the opening tip you could tell, Germany wasn't scared. They played like a machine. Every possession was precise. The ball zipped, the spacing was perfect, and their confidence never wavered. The US tried to push the tempo, but Germany answered every punch. By the fourth quarter, the crowd knew they were witnessing something historic. Germany outplayed, outcoached, and outlasted the most talented roster in the world. Final score, Germany 113, USA 111. 2 nights later, they beat Serbia to claim their first ever World Cup title. Dennis Schröder was named MVP. Franz Wagner looked like the future of European basketball, and suddenly, the team everyone underestimated was standing on top of the world. But that wasn't the end. It was the beginning. At the 2024 Olympics, they finished 4th, still proving their World Cup run wasn't a fluke. And in 2025, they dominated Europe, defeating Spain, France, and Turkey on their way to Eurobasket gold in Latvia. The country that once had one basketball hero now had a full generation of them. And in just 3 years, they turned belief into legacy. But this story isn't just about winning. It's about what happens next, and what Germany's rise means for the rest of the basketball world. Germany's rise didn't happen overnight. It wasn't about one golden summer or a lucky generation. It was about building something that lasts. While other countries chase talent, Germany built infrastructure. While others rely on superstars, Germany focused on systems. And when the pressure hit, that structure held. Because it wasn't built for one player. It was built for everyone. They didn't reinvent basketball. They just perfected the boring parts. Development, teaching, chemistry, and patience. And somehow, that turned into gold medals and world titles. Germany proved you don't need to be flashy to win. You just need to be consistent. You just need a plan that everyone believes in, and the patience to see it through. For the first time, basketball in Germany isn't defined by one name. It's defined by a culture. One that produces players who think, coaches who teach, and teams that play like they've been together forever. Now when people talk about European basketball powers, Spain, France, Serbia, you have to include Germany in the conversation. Because they've shown the world what happens when discipline meets belief, when structure meets talent, when a football country finally finds its rhythm in basketball. And the scary part? They're just getting started.